Are you guys able to hear me now? Otherwise, please send a message to Olivia. Sorry about that. So today's webinar is on the EC editor, and thanks for holding out a few extra minutes. So we're going to get started. Today, we're going to look at the EC editor, the functionality there. Then we're going to specifically look at a few examples, how to add and remove a share channel, how to test the share page configuration, the layout of the share page, and how to add an emoji to any kind of copy, in this example, the emo subject line. If you have any issues with the sound or viewing, please send a message to Olivia, who's the co-host. Or if you have any specific questions along the presentation or something specific that you would like to have addressed, please send a message, a private message to Olivia as well. So the first thing we're going to look at is the EC editor, the different campaigns, how to create a campaign, edit it, and preview it. So we're going to create one and name it, and then we're going to go into the EC editor and look at the different referral screens and make and save changes. And then to ensure that those changes are also showing up correctly, we're going to preview the campaigns both on desktop and on mobile. And we're also going to preview it on your website, in this case on a test website, using a campaign tag to make sure that it shows up correctly on the site as well. And then we're also going to show you how to send a preview to a coworker without a specific Talkable access login. And lastly, how to QA emails or how to send those to yourself. So we're going to go into the platform and take a look at these different things. So I'm going to go in here to my test site, and I can create a new campaign in different ways. Obviously, I can look at my current live campaigns, and if I wanted to just make changes but keep all the settings that I have in those current campaigns, I can copy that campaign. In this case, I'm going to create an entirely new campaign, which I can do up here. I want to create a new floating widget campaign. And so once I do that, I automatically get into the details of this campaign. So the first thing we're going to do is rename it, and then after that, we're going to go into the EC editor. So you do that under the rules. So let's say I want to call this April 2018 to make sure I can find this campaign again. Within the editor, that's where if you wanted to make specific copy changes to the images, the colors, you can easily do that. So here, the first screen we see is the floating widget. Clicking up here on top, you see all the different screens within the referral program. First one will be that advocate trigger widget, which is available. Obviously, that screen is only available for the floating widget campaign. Then following is the sign up and share page, the different sharing pages, and the friend claim page, and in the end, the reward email. We're going to make a few changes, and then we're going to look at those on the site. So I'm going to change the color of the floating widget. Currently, by default, it's this orange color, but I'm going to change it to green. And then I'm going to save the changes. And in a minute, we'll see how that looks on the website and in the preview mode. I'm also going to navigate to my advocate sign up page, and I'll have options to obviously change the color as well. In this case, I want to change some of the copy to see how that is reflected on the site. So I'm going to change this pre-header that says refer a friend. To some other copy. Cool. All right, so I made a few different changes. And so now I want to go into the preview and see how are these different changes reflected. So I can go, first of all, to the preview button of this specific campaign, which will allow me to review the entire campaign within Talkable. So first, you'll see here that there's a floating widget which has the new color that I changed it to. And then on the second page, I see that it has the updated copy, know someone that likes watches, which is also reflected here. If you want to have someone review this that don't have access to the Talkable platform, you can click on this copy public preview link, and it'll automatically copy a link that you can then paste into your browser. And anyone with this link would be able to preview this even without access to Talkable. So if you have a dedicated marketing team or creative team that needs to look at this without access, this would be one way to do that. Going back to my preview, it defaults to having a desktop web view, but if you click on this mobile view, you'll be able to see how would my campaign look on mobile. So you again see the widget here, and then scrolling down, you'd see that the same copy is updated here on the sign up page. The last way we want to preview is by going to the website and using a campaign tag. So this is my website, and my current live campaign is the floating widget down here, get $30 today. But I want to test this new floating widget campaign that I have just made. And so the way that you can do that is by using a specific campaign tag. So step one is figuring out what campaign tag exactly is that, and you can find that in the campaign. The campaign tags are these tags that are listed just below the name of the campaign. So in this case, test-pop-up. It has to be unique. So in case you have multiple tags, you want to use the one that's unique. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go back to my website and add that campaign tag. So it's question mark, campaign tags, equals, and then I put in that unique information or that unique tag that I just saw, and that should populate my my floating widget, my new. So here you see, instead of my current live floating widget, I instead see the green get $5 floating widget that I'm working on, and I can click on that and also see that this is the current sign up page, which has the copy that I put in as well. The last thing we want to share with you in terms of QA is how do I QA the emails? I didn't make any specific changes to the emails, but let's say you had updated the copy or the subject lines and you wanted to see how those looked in your inbox on mobile or on desktop. You can go to the campaign you're testing, and you can click on this QA tab, which will take you, first of all, to a bunch of different things that needs to be fixed for this campaign, since it's still a test campaign. But if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see that there's an option to send to yourself, and that will trigger that it sends all the emails that are associated with this campaign to yourself, and you'll be able to view those in your inbox. Cool. Any questions to the EC editor functionality or overview, preview, or QA?
We do have one question about how to add or create a new campaign tag.
Sure. So by default, a few campaign tags are added to any campaign. If we go to the overview of the campaigns, we can see that that all of these campaigns have campaign tags by default. This campaign I just created had by default test pop-up and test pop-up trigger. Do I want to create a specific campaign tag that's unique for that campaign? I would open that campaign and go to the rules tab. Scrolling down in the rules, there's a specific section for tags. And so here I would be able to put in my, my specific my specific tag. And I can just click enter or click the plus button, and that would add a new specific tag to that campaign. So technically, I could go back to my website and use floating widget to test the campaign as well.
We have one more question. For within the Easy Editor, what does copy to other campaigns do?
Sure. So within the Easy Editor, if you have multiple campaigns live, like let's say you have the standalone invite page, you also have the post-purchase campaign, and you have the floating widget, and you want to update all the campaigns copy on the share page, for example, you can use the copy to other campaigns functionality. For the trigger, that's only going to be a screen that's available for the floating widget. So let's take another screen as an example. Let's take the share page that we just talked about. So let's say that copy that says refer a friend, we want to change that to give your friend a gift. But we want to we want to not just change it in this campaign, but we want to change it across our campaign placements. That you can do by going into to copy to other campaigns. I didn't save this little change, but I'm going to leave the page anyway. And so I can put in my my new value that I want to copy across campaigns, and then down here under selected campaigns, I can select. Let's say I want to change this copy in my current live campaigns, the ones with the little green dot. I also want to include that in the standalone page. Then once I save content, that update would be made not only in this campaign, but across the campaigns that I had just chosen. Sure. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into 3 different examples. The first one is related to different share channels. So we're going to add and remove a different share channel. So first of all, the default available share channels are listed here. It's email, link, which in reports are shown as other, but basically someone can copy the link and post it anywhere. SMS, which is available on mobile, Twitter, WhatsApp, which is a new functionality available on both desktop and mobile, and then Facebook, both wall post and/or direct messaging. And the direct messaging is currently available only for desktop. So changing share channels. So I'm going to go back into my campaign, and I'm going to add the share channel Twitter, and then I'm going to remove the share channel Facebook. So I'm going to go back into the test campaign I've been working in. I'm going to navigate again to the Easy Editor. And then since this is related to share channels, that's on the share page, the advocate share page. So I'm going to open the advocate share page. And then I have these different options: copy, images, color, and configuration. And share channels, or what share channels I want, are under configuration. And so if I scroll down here, I can see, for example, advocate share page channel email is enabled, which you can see over here that we have the share via email button. And so I can see here that the Twitter share channel is currently disabled, but I'm going to enable that as one of my one of the changes I want to make. And then I wanted to disable the Facebook. So when you click on the Facebook, you can see there are a few additional options. To have just the wall post, just direct messaging, both, or having it disabled. In this case, I'm going to disable it. And I'm going to save changes, and I should in my preview be able to see that now I have Twitter instead of Facebook as share channels. You can click on the mobile view too, where we would most likely have a few additional options. WhatsApp, which is enabled only for mobile currently, and SMS as well. The next thing we're going to look at is a little bit more tricky. It's related to the configuration of the share page. So this photo or example here is an email-focused layout, is what we call it. And so what we're going to go in is basically look at the share page configuration. And the reason why we do that often is because email sharing often has a higher conversion rate. So that's why we want to try and encourage email sharing and seeing if that improves in performance. So what we're going to do is we're going to implement this A/B test by going to the share page configuration where we just were, and then we're going to add this A/B test. We're going to choose the different campaigns we want to test, and then we're going to change the image sizes because changing the configuration changes the images as well. And then we're going to preview and track these results to see how we do that. So I'm going to go back into my my test campaign, and I'm going to go to the EC editor, and I'm going to navigate to that advocate share page, and I'm going to go to configuration. And so when I scroll down here, there's going to be an option. Here it is, the one that says advocate share page layout, which is currently equal emphasis. If I change that to email emphasis, I'll see that the layout of the site itself changes and looks more to what we saw. The same share channels are available. We're not removing any share channels. We're just increasing a focus on email sharing. We didn't want to just change it. We wanted to actually set this up as an A/B test, A/B testing the equal versus the email emphasis, these two different options. So I do that by clicking on Create A/B Test. I can name my A/B test by default. It's the name of that functionality in the EC editor and today's date. And down here, I'll be able to see what are the variants. Currently, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, email emphasis, equal emphasis, 50-50% are going to see one share page, and the other 50% are going to see the other share page. Scrolling down, by default, it's only going to be implemented in my test campaign. If I wanted to include my my additional live campaigns or also this standalone campaign that I was working on, I could do that. For now, we're just going to implement it in this one campaign. Sure. We're taken back to the EC editor, and if we click on configuration, we should be able to see that now there is an A/B test down here. And so now is a little bit of a tricky part. We didn't change the photos, but because the layouts and the sizes of the photos change, we can click on these two different view buttons to be able to see how they look. If we wanted to test a specific image for email and a specific image for equal to make sure that the size was right, we would have to go. Let's see. We would have to go back to images, and so here is the advocate share page background when using the equal emphasis, and then down here under inactive custom settings is a way to change the photo of the advocate share page for the email emphasis layout. So if this was your campaign, you could upload a specific image that had exactly those dimensions. I prepared that. The dimensions are as they are in here, 432 by 737. So I could add that specific. Add that specific image for my email emphasis, and then for the advocate share page background, I could pick an image that was optimized for that setting, which is this 620 times 560. So I'd select that image and then save the changes. So that way the photo is optimized for both settings. So in order to begin tracking, previewing and tracking this A/B test, the campaign has to be live. As long as it's on test mode, it won't really start running and tracking results. Once it's live, as soon as it gets an impression, it will start tracking the results. I'm going to show you where you would be able to find the results and also how to look at those. So I'm going to go back to my my Talkable site, and then under reports, you'll be able to find one report that's called A/B tests. And in here, you should see all the current A/B tests that you have. This one still says ready to run since the campaign isn't live. But if I click on that, I'll be able to see the results. And I'll be able to track the results down here. One thing to note is that you always want to make sure you update the period for when this campaign ran. The last thing we're going to look at before we'll take a few questions, if there are any, is how to add an emoji. In this case, we're going to add it to our subject line, but technically you could add it in the same way to any kind of copy in your campaigns. So you can find emojis in different places. We're going to go to this website called Emojipedia, and then we're going to find a copy, a specific emoji that we want to use in our campaign. Then we're going to locate and place where we want to add this campaign, or where we want to add this emoji, insert it and save it. So in this case, I'm going to add a key to my friend share email subject line. So first I'm going to go to Emojipedia and I'm going to search for key. There's a number of different options. I'm going to go with this old key and simply copy the emoji, and then I'm going to go back to my Talkable site and go to my test campaign that I'm working in. I'm going to go into the EC editor. And in this case, I'm going to navigate to my friend share email because that's where I want to change the subject line. Then I'm under the EC editor going to find the friend share email subject line. So currently it's your friend John Smith gave you $5, and I want to add my emoji and then change the copy to be somewhere along the line with unlock my reward or something like that. So in order to add it, you can either right click and paste in your, oh, that removed my, paste in the key, or otherwise you can also use the shortcut on the keyboard. And then basically I would just save the changes. The last thing, if you didn't want to use the word reward, but you actually wanted to have the actual friend reward that you're giving out 20%, what it might be, you can use the dynamic variables available. So if you click on the variables here, you'll see the most common ones come up here. So the incentive for a friend, for example, you can copy that, and instead of reward, you would add that, and then now it would say, in this case, it's $5. It would be unlock your $5. Cool. All right, so those were those 3 different examples and an overview of the EC editor and how to preview campaigns. So the last thing we're going to do is look at a few different questions to just answer those.
Can I add Instagram as a share channel?
So we have a question about adding Instagram as a share channel. So that was in one of the default share channels that we spoke about. And unfortunately, Instagram doesn't allow Talkable or anyone else to add content directly on their site. So the only way that Instagram can be used is if people or your customers add the share link directly on Instagram, but we're not able to add that as a share channel, unfortunately.
We had a question around what characteristics do you see as being a main driver of a successful campaign?
What characteristics? So one of the things, based on the different things we spoke about, that email configuration is often something that we see perform well, because we tend to see that email is a strong share channel for referrals. Generally, also, of course, visibility of the program. Now we mainly looked at the floating widget, so ensuring that the program is visible and that we have CTAs that are visible for customers to see and know about the program is definitely a key driver as well. A lot of our setup that is currently available when you create a new campaign is what's optimized, so that the copy and including, for example, names and email subject lines, or including the actual rewards that are being, or incentives that are being given out, are some of the key drivers. But of course, personalizing the campaigns to include copy and words that are associated with your brand, I would say is a key driver as well.
Cool. What about, we have one more question about if you can change the copy of the email to include the friend's first name.
Sure. So in this case, the question would be, can we say, hi, John, if my friend's name that I'm sharing with is John? And currently, that's not information we ask for on the share page. I can say that the email is from someone, but the to-person, that name isn't something that we're collecting, and so that for that reason we tend to say, hey, friend, or something like that since we don't have that piece of information. Technically, it's possible to ask for that piece of information from the person sharing, the advocate. However, we want to try limit the amount of information that the advocate needs to put in and enter before sharing, to not make it too complicated to share for anyone.
We have one more question about changing the incentives. Someone said they tried to change them and it wasn't allowing them to actually change the incentives.
Sure. So incentives can only be changed in, and I'm going to go into the editor to just show you, can only be changed in test campaigns. They cannot be changed in any live campaigns. So that might be the issue. If you're trying to change incentives in the current live campaigns, that's not possible. The reason is that those links have already been shared, and basically the flow of that share has already been created, which is why it's not possible to change them. But if I wanted to change it in test campaigns, I can just show you how you would do that. You'd go into the campaign and you would change that under rules. So the default in the campaign is using this $5 multi-use coupon code. And so if we wanted to, in this case, change the advocate incentive to, let's say, be $20 instead, I would go in here and change the amount to 20. If it's still a fixed amount, meaning dollars and not a percentage, I would keep that as being the fixed amount. And then down here, I would choose, if I have a multi-use code, if my code is $20 off on my site, for example, then I would put in whatever that was. But obviously, we recommend to use single-use coupon codes. And in that case, you would pick single use and then choose a list. It looks like there's actually a list for exactly $20 here, so I could pick that. If you don't have it, or if that's not the correct list, you would click on the new coupon list, which would prompt you to either copy paste all the codes, which would be a long list, or you could also upload a CSV file. And then once done, you would basically save that. It would flush any campaign data. Since this is a test campaign, I'm fine with flushing, meaning deleting all the shares and clicks and visits. And that would update the incentive to be that $20. And so that should be reflected throughout the campaign where you had used dynamic variables to pull in the advocate incentive. Do we have any other questions, or is this? All right. I think that was that was it for the webinar on the EC Editor. I hope it was helpful. We'll share this recording with you guys and the presentation. And so if there's any additional questions, feel free to reach out to your customer success manager or your campaign managers with any additional questions.